Alright, before I get started working out problems, let's quickly review the different methods of solving a quadratic. So there's the quadratic formula. Remember, you can pause this video at any time if you want to have more time. The quadratic formula works with any problem in standard form. Remember, which is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Alright, then you have complete the square. I would use that for sure if it's in vertex form. Remember, which is y equals ax minus h squared plus k. Or you can also use it if it's in standard form and a is equal to 1 and b is even. You could also use it there. Solve by factoring. You can do that if it's easily factorable, or for sure if it's in factored form. Y equals a, x minus r1, x minus r2. And then last, you have solve by square roots. And that is when there's no bx term. There's only an x squared and a constant. Alright, let's go ahead and get started. So number one, a is 1 and b is even. So we're going to do complete the square. You could also do quadratic formula. Either way, I'm going to go ahead and move the 11 over so it becomes negative. Like I said, you feel free to do the quadratic formula. I'm going to do complete the square. So x squared plus 2x plus a blank minus 11 minus a blank. Half of 2 is 1, 1 squared is 1, and then there's no coefficient out front. So this is x plus 1 squared minus 12. Alright, and then you do need to set it equal to 0 because you are solving. So x plus 1 squared equals 12. Square root both sides. 12 breaks down to the square root of 4 times the square root of 3. So that becomes plus or minus 2 root 3 because the square root of 4 is 2. 3 stays inside. And then last, I need to move the plus 1 to the other side so it becomes negative 1 plus or minus 2 root 3. So that is answer choice B. Alright. Number 2 is already in factored form, so you set them both equal to 0 and solve. Here the 7 moves to the other side and becomes negative 7, but don't forget to divide by 2. So you get negative 7 over 2, or you can make it negative 3.5, and this one is x equals 9. X equals, so you have 2 answers. Okay. Number 3 is in vertex form. So to solve it, you don't need to do plus a blank minus a blank because it's already in vertex form. You're just going to get x by itself. So the first thing you have to do is divide by negative 2. So leaves me x plus 2 squared equals 5. Then you have to square root both sides because the square goes with everything in the parentheses. So square root both sides, those cancel. X plus 2 equals plus or minus root 5. Anytime you take the square root, when you're solving, you have to do plus or minus. And then remember, when the 2 moves over, it becomes negative 2. So your answer is negative 2 plus or minus root 5. Number 4, what are the solutions of the following parabola? They've already graphed it for you. Remember, solutions are the x-intercepts. So you have x equals negative 3. And x equals 1. Alright, number 5. This one is best done by the square root method because there's no bx term. There's only an a and a c. So just have to isolate the x. So that equals 49. Divide by 16. And then complete the square root of both sides. Square root of a fraction, you're just most likely going to get a fraction as your answer. The square root of 49 is 7, square root of 16 is 4, and don't forget your plus or minus. So x equals plus or minus 7 over 4. Number 6, what are the x-intercepts of the graph of y equals negative x squared plus 5x plus 14? You can definitely use Desmos, especially since your answer choices are integers. Desmos would be great. You could also factor it. So I'm going to divide everything by -1. So that leaves me with x squared minus 5x minus 14. And then the things that multiply to give me -14 are -7 and 2. And then when you set them equal to 0, you get +7 and -2. So D. Number 7, if you look at your answer choices, they all have i's in them, which means they're imaginary, so Desmos will not help you at all. I'm going to go ahead and add the 8. So I have x squared plus 8x plus 28. B is even and A is 1. So I'm going to do complete the square on this one, but you could also do quadratic formula. So to complete the square, you have x squared plus 8x plus a blank plus 28 minus a blank. Half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16. So this is x plus 4 squared. 28 minus 16 is 12. Alright, and I have to set it equal to 0 in order to solve it. It did say solve. Alright, so I have x plus 4 squared equals -12. Square root both sides. So I've got to pop out an I. Plus 12 breaks down to 4 and 3. So that'd be 2i root 3 with the plus or minus. And then when you bring the 4 over, it becomes negative. So you get -4 plus or minus 2i root 3. That's answer choice D. Alright, number 8, describe the nature of the roots. You only need to do the discriminant for this. You don't need to do the whole quadratic formula. You don't need to solve it. All you need to find out is the discriminant. The discriminant is b squared minus 4ac. So -2 squared, this is my a, my b, and my c. So -2 squared minus 4 times 2 times -1. So that's 4, -8 plus 8, so I get 12. Well, it's not negative, so they're not going to be imaginary. It's not 0, so I'm not going to get one answer. I'm going to get 2 answers. And 12 is not a perfect square, so my answers are going to be irrational. If you get a perfect square, that's when the answers are rational. Alright, this is extra practice. Feel free to stop and take your quiz at any time. If you set these equal to 0, you get C. Number 10, A is 1, B is even, so I'm going to do complete the square. Half of -10 is -5, squared is +25. So I get x minus 5 squared minus 22 equals 0. So x minus 5 squared equals 22. Square root both sides. X minus 5 equals plus or minus square root of 22. And you move the 5 over, it becomes positive. So that one is D. Number 11, B is not even, so I'm going to do the quadratic formula. Opposite of B, plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Alright, remember you only type that into the calculator to begin with. So 3 squared minus 4 times 1 times -3, and you get 21. So -3 plus or minus square root of 21 over 2. So D again. Number 12, which of the following shows an equation for which the quadratic formula would yield? So remember, this is opposite of B. So B should be positive 4. And then if you look at the bottom, this is 2A. So A is negative 2. So your answer is B. Number 13 is only asking for the discriminant, which is b squared minus 4ac. So 4 squared minus 4 times 3 times 7 gives you negative 68, which is A. All right, nature of the roots, you only need to do the discriminant again. B squared minus 4ac. That gives you 0. Anytime you get 0, it's just going to be 1 root. All right, and 15, it's in vertex form, so I'm going to just get x by itself, so you subtract 10 first, then divide by negative 2. Got to work from the outside in. Square root both sides, and then move the 2 over. That is the exact same problem as number 3. I have to make myself a note. And 16 divided by 5, square root method. 100 divided by 5 is 20. Square root both sides. Be very careful here. You have to break this down, and you have to put plus or minus. So the square root of 4 is 2, and 5 stays inside the root. All right, good luck on your quiz.